Listen, I need you to understand something before we even get started here. What I'm about to walk you through isn't just another garden variety rap beef that'll be forgotten by next Tuesday. This isn't some Twitter finger situation where two artists trade subliminal shots for a week and then go back to posting vacation pictures. No. What's unfolding right now between Curtis 50 Cent Jackson and Clifford T.I. Harris is so unbelievably vicious, so deeply personal, and so fundamentally destructive that it makes the most legendary feuds in hip-hop history look like playground disagreements. We're talking about tombstones being photographed and weaponized. We're talking about deceased mothers, women who can't defend themselves, who never asked to be part of any of this, being mocked, ridiculed, and disrespected on the internet for millions to see. We're talking about a man's wife being humiliated publicly, and a grown man's son jumping headfirst into adult business and saying things so venomous that no amount of apologizing, no passage of time, and no PR crisis management could ever fully repair the damage. The words have been spoken. The images have been posted. The nuclear option has been deployed. And here's the part that should terrify anyone paying attention. Absolutely none of this madness originated from a diss track, a stolen chain, or even money. Every ounce of this carnage, every insult thrown, every boundary crossed, every bridge burned to ashes, started because of a versus battle, a celebration, a cultural event designed to bring people together, to honor legacies, to remind us why we fell in love with hip-hop in the first place. Think about how absolutely insane that sounds when you say it out loud. A party invitation spiraled into one of the most horrifying displays of disrespect the culture has witnessed in decades. And before I take you deep into this rabbit hole, before I connect every single dot that the blogs and reaction channels conveniently left out, I need you to do something for me. Smash that like button right now. Hit subscribe, because what you're about to read is a masterclass in how pride, betrayal, miscommunication, and ego can transform two titans of hip-hop into mortal enemies. This isn't clickbait. This isn't exaggeration. This is documented, verifiable chaos, and by the time you finish reading, you'll understand exactly why I believe someone is going to get seriously hurt behind this. So let me rewind the clock and take you back to where this nightmare truly began. Because if you only caught fragments of this story, a screenshot here, a viral clip there, you're operating with maybe 10 to 15% of the actual context. And context is everything. Without it, you're just watching explosions without understanding who lit the fuse, why they lit it, or how many people are about to get caught in the blast radius. The genesis, when versus was supposed to bring us together. To truly grasp the magnitude of what we're dealing with, you have to understand what versus represented during its peak. When Swizz Beatz and Timbaland birthed this concept during the pandemic lockdowns, it was nothing short of genius. The entire music industry had ground to a halt. No concerts, no tours, no festivals, no backstage moments. Artists who built their entire existence on performing live were suddenly trapped at home with no outlet, no revenue, and no connection to their fans. Versus changed that overnight. The format was brilliantly simple. Two legendary artists, one Instagram live session, 20 rounds of the biggest hits played back-to-back while fans around the globe watched, debated, laughed, cried, and celebrated. It became appointment viewing. Gucci Mane versus Jeezy wasn't just a battle. It was a cultural reckoning that forced two men who genuinely wanted to harm each other to sit in the same room and acknowledge their shared history. Brandy versus Monica gave us one of the most emotional, vocally stunning displays of R&B excellence ever broadcast. Ludacris versus Nelly reminded us that the early 2000s were an undefeated era for Southern rap. These weren't just competitions. They were therapy sessions, history lessons, and family reunions all rolled into one. T.I. looked at this landscape and saw an opportunity. But he didn't want the obvious matchup. He could have called out Jeezy, and honestly, most people expected that. T.I. and Jeezy's rivalry defined an entire era of trap music. From 2005 to 2008, those two were locked in a cold war that shaped the sound of Atlanta hip-hop and influenced an entire generation of artists. A versus between them would have been massive, nostalgic, and relatively safe. He could have gone after Lil Wayne, which would have been a completely different kind of spectacle. Two Southern legends with completely different styles going blow for blow. But T.I. didn't want safe. He wanted spectacle. He wanted the biggest name he could possibly challenge. He wanted Curtis Jackson. Now here's where the story gets complicated, and it's a complication that most coverage of this beef completely ignores. T.I. has been crystal clear, consistent, and unwavering in multiple interviews across multiple platforms that this wasn't some random internet call-out. He didn't just wake up one morning, fire up Instagram, and tag 50 Cent hoping for a response. According to T.I., and he's repeated this story so many times that it's either true or he's the most committed liar in hip-hop history, he and 50 Cent had a direct, face-to-face conversation about this versus in Los Angeles. Both men were in LA doing business. They are not just rappers anymore. They are television producers, executive producers, brand ambassadors, and entrepreneurs. They move in the same circles. They attend the same industry events. They pitch shows to the same networks. And during one of these encounters, T.I. says he brought up the idea of a versus battle. And according to T.I., 50 Cent agreed. Not reluctantly, not with hesitation. He said yes. The plan, as T.I. explains it, was straightforward and strategic. T.I. would go public first to generate buzz and get the fans talking. Then 50 would respond publicly, confirming the battle and adding fuel to the fire. Together, they'd create a promotional frenzy that would make their eventual versus one of the biggest cultural moments of the year. It was a textbook two-man marketing strategy. Create anticipation from both sides. Let the fans argue about who has the better catalog. Let the debates rage across social media. And then deliver the moment everyone's been waiting for. If executed properly, it would have been genius. A masterclass in how to build hype and capitalize on nostalgia while giving the fans exactly what they want. But then T.I. went public and made the call out. And 50 Cent acted like he had absolutely no idea what T.I. was talking about. Like the conversation never happened. Like T.I. was some desperate, clout-chasing artist screaming into the void hoping for attention from someone more famous. And that reaction, that public dismissal, that feeling of being played and embarrassed in front of the entire world, that's the wound that started all of this. Because T.I. isn't from some suburban neighborhood where breaking your word just means you're unreliable. T.I. is from Bankhead, Atlanta. And in Bankhead, your word is the most sacred thing you own. Your word is your reputation. Your word is your honor. You break your word, you break trust. And once trust is shattered, it doesn't magically reassemble itself. So T.I. carried that resentment. He didn't immediately explode. He didn't go on a public rampage. He carried it quietly, letting it simmer, letting it ferment, letting it transform from disappointment into something much darker. Resentment is a dangerous emotion because it doesn't fade with time. It compounds. It builds interest like a debt that never gets paid. And eventually, it explodes with the force of everything that's been suppressed. Shannon Sharpe went from being one of the greatest tight ends in NFL history to becoming one of the most influential voices in sports and entertainment media. His show reaches millions of people. Athletes, celebrities, politicians, and artists all want to sit in that chair because they know Shannon's platform amplifies messages to a level few others can match. And when T.I. sat down across from Shannon, he wasn't being careless. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't emotional. He was calculated, deliberate, and precise. He explained, calmly and clearly, that he wanted the versus with 50 Cent. He said that 50 Cent doesn't want any smoke. He said that he reached out directly, had conversations, and that 50 was ducking the challenge. Now, when I first watched that interview, I didn't think T.I. crossed any major lines. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't insulting 50's music or legacy. He was simply stating his position as a grown man who felt disrespected and wanted the record set straight. It was measured. It was controlled. It was the kind of statement that, under normal circumstances, might lead to a clarifying conversation or even a public back and forth that eventually results in the battle actually happening. But 50 Cent doesn't do normal circumstances. In 50's mind, being called out publicly is a declaration of war. Being told you're ducking is an insult to your manhood. And being told you're scared on a platform with millions of viewers isn't something you respond to with a press release or a polite rebuttal. You respond with total annihilation. So within hours of that Shannon Sharpe clip going viral, 50 Cent did exactly what 50 Cent always does when someone challenges him. He went to Instagram and he came with receipts. Not emotional rants. Not long paragraphs explaining his side. Cold, calculated, surgical receipts designed to destroy T.I.'s reputation in the most efficient way possible. The first thing 50 posted was the Crime Stoppers video. And if you've somehow never seen this footage, let me paint the full picture for you. Years ago, T.I. filmed a public service announcement for Crime Stoppers Atlanta. He appeared on camera, looked directly at the audience, and encouraged people in the community to call in anonymous tips to help solve crimes. He gave out the phone number. He talked about helping mothers and fathers who lost loved ones to violence get justice and closure. On paper, filming that PSA was a noble, community-oriented thing to do. T.I. was using his platform to try to make his city safer. But in the world T.I. built his career in the streets he constantly references in his music, in the culture that elevated him from local Atlanta rapper to international superstar, doing a Crime Stoppers commercial is an unforgivable look. It doesn't matter what the intent was. It doesn't matter that it was about helping victims' families. The optics are what they are. And 50 Cent weaponized those optics with the precision of a trained assassin. But 50 wasn't finished, not even remotely close. He then reposted courtroom footage of T.I. testifying at a murder trial. And this is where the narrative gets extraordinarily complicated, because what actually happened in that courtroom tells a completely different story than what the memes and Instagram comments want you to believe. T.I.'s close friend was murdered, shot and killed. And T.I., as someone who genuinely loved that man, showed up to the trial and took the witness stand. He testified about the moment he found out his friend was dead. He described having to look a 4-year-old little girl in the eyes and tell her that her father was gone and was never coming back. He sat on that stand and relived one of the most traumatic experiences of his life so that the person who murdered his friend could face justice. That is not snitching. Not by any reasonable, rational definition. He wasn't testifying against a co-defendant to reduce his own sentence. He wasn't cooperating with law enforcement to avoid prison time. He was a grieving man trying to do right by someone he lost. But 50 Cent doesn't care about reasonable definitions. 50 Cent doesn't care about context or nuance. 50 Cent cares about narrative. And the narrative he wanted to create was devastatingly simple. T.I. is a rat. And once that label gets attached to you in hip-hop, once that perception takes root in the culture, context becomes completely irrelevant. The memes take over. The jokes take over. The truth gets buried under an avalanche of Instagram comments and Twitter threads. This is the playbook. This is the exact strategy 50 used to end Ja Rule's commercial viability. This is what he did to Rick Ross when he turned the corrections officer photos into a punchline that followed Ross for years. This is what he did to the game over and over again until the game's entire public identity became defined by his obsession with 50 Cent. 50 Cent doesn't just win beefs. He systematically erases people from the conversation, turns them into jokes, and makes it impossible for them to recover their credibility. And T.I. was about to learn just how ruthless, how relentless, and how psychologically devastating that process truly is. But T.I. didn't back down. And I'll be honest, part of me respects that even though it made everything exponentially worse. Because backing down would have meant admitting defeat. It would have meant letting 50 Cent win without a fight. And T.I.'s pride, his sense of self, his entire identity as a man who built himself from nothing, wouldn't allow that. So he sat down with Gilly the Kid and Wallow for their wildly popular podcast, $1 Million Worth of Game. And during that interview, T.I. said something that fundamentally and irrevocably altered the trajectory of this entire situation. He said he no longer respects 50 Cent as a man. Not that he's frustrated with how things played out. Not that he disagrees with 50's tactics. Not that he wishes they could have handled it differently. He said in clear, unambiguous terms that he does not respect Curtis Jackson. Full stop. Period. End of sentence. He said he has zero interest in standing on a stage with 50 Cent. Not now. Not tomorrow. Not ever. And in hip-hop culture, when someone publicly declares that they do not respect you, that's not just a diss. That's not just trash talk. That's a permanent severing of whatever relationship existed. That's a man looking the entire world in the eye and saying, I have measured this person's character and found them to be worthless. That cuts deeper than any bar on any diss track ever could. Because you can respond to lyrics. You can come back with harder bars, better metaphors, more clever wordplay. But when someone says they don't respect who you are as a human being, there's no lyrical response that fixes that. That's an existential attack on your character, your manhood, your entire existence. What was absolutely fascinating about that interview, though, was watching Gilly and Wallow navigate the conversation. And when I say navigate, I mean they were practically walking on eggshells. They were tiptoeing through a minefield blindfolded while juggling chainsaws. You could feel the tension radiating through the screen every single time T.I. mentioned 50's name. Gilly literally tried to redirect the conversation multiple times. He said something along the lines of, "Let's move on, we don't really do beef on this show." And when he said that, I almost fell out of my chair laughing. $1 million worth of game doesn't do beef? Are you serious right now, Gilly? You and Wallow have had multiple guests on that platform who went at other people's necks. Gilly himself has been in the middle of instigating situations more times than anyone can count. The show thrives on controversial moments and unfiltered conversations. But suddenly, the moment Curtis Jackson's name enters the chat, everybody wants to be Switzerland. Everybody wants to be neutral. Everybody wants to steer the conversation towards safer, less volatile topics. And that reaction alone tells you something profoundly important about the current power dynamics in hip-hop. 50 Cent is the one man in this entire industry that absolutely nobody wants problems with. He is the boogeyman that grown men with millions of dollars, massive platforms, and loyal fan bases are genuinely afraid to even discuss candidly on camera. Because they've all watched what happens. They watched him systematically dismantle J.A. Rule's career brick by brick until J.A. became a punchline who couldn't sell tickets. They watched him tie Rick Ross into a corrections officer meme for years. They watched him troll the game so relentlessly that the game's entire public persona became defined by his obsession with responding to 50. They watched him go at Diddy repeatedly before the rest of the world caught on to what 50 was seeing. And nobody, absolutely nobody, wants to be next on that list. But T.I. didn't care about the list. He kept going. He laid out the entire timeline of what he believes was a broken agreement. He explained the private conversation in Los Angeles. He explained how he felt double-crossed, embarrassed, and disrespected when 50 pretended not to know anything about that discussion. And then he delivered what could only be described as a character assassination. He questioned who Curtis Jackson really is as a person. He said that a man who goes back on his word, who lies about agreements, who plays games in front of the entire world, is not a man worthy of respect or trust. And for 50 Cent, who built his entire global brand on being authentic, on being the real one, on being the guy from Southside Jamaica, Queens who survived 9 bullets and came back stronger than ever, being called a fraud in front of millions of people is the one accusation his ego absolutely cannot absorb. It's the one attack that bypasses all his armor and strikes directly at his core identity. So 50 retaliated, but he didn't aim at T.I. directly. He aimed at something T.I. loves more than his own reputation, more than his career, more than anything else in the world. His wife, Tiny. Tamika "Tiny" Cottle Harris is not just T's wife. She's not just the mother of his children. She's the woman who chose him when he was nobody. When T.I. met Tiny, he was a young street dude from Bankhead with big dreams, raw talent, and a criminal record. Tiny was already a star. She was 1/4 of Escape, one of the biggest R&B groups of the 1990s. She had platinum records. She had Jermaine Dupri producing her music. She had money, fame, and a career that was thriving before T.I. ever stepped foot in a professional recording booth. Tiny chose T.I. when choosing him made absolutely no sense from a career or financial perspective. She held him down when he went to prison. Not once, not twice, multiple times. She raised his children, including children from previous relationships. She built a family with him. She stuck by his side through legal battles, through scandals, through controversies, through everything that would have sent most people running for the exits. And decades later, after everything they've been through, they are still together. So when 50 Cent went to Instagram and posted the most unflattering photo of Tiny he could possibly find, and I'm being completely honest when I say it was bad, it was genuinely unflattering. He knew exactly what he was doing. He wasn't just clowning someone's appearance. He was attacking the foundation of T's entire life. His family, his marriage, his loyalty, his choices, everything T.I. considers sacred. The caption was simple and direct. I keep saying keep my name out your mouth. Translation: you want to keep talking about me, T.I.? Cool. I'll humiliate your wife in front of 20 million followers and remind you that I can touch anything and anyone you care about. The internet, predictably, went absolutely insane. The comments section transformed into a war zone within minutes. People were saying this was the kind of disrespect that requires a physical response. Even Wack 100, a man who has seen and participated in some of the ugliest situations the music industry has to offer, commented that there's no comeback for this level of disrespect and that they definitely have to fight after this crosses the line. When Wack 100 tells you a line has been crossed, you should probably believe him. But what happened next made everything else look like child's play. Because this is the moment this beef went from ugly to genuinely, horrifyingly disturbing. And I need you to really sit with what I'm about to describe. Because this is where we crossed into territory that hip-hop has rarely, if ever, seen before. T's son, King Harris, saw 50 Cent's post humiliating his mother, and something inside that young man completely snapped. He got on Instagram Live and recorded a video that I genuinely, sincerely believe he will regret for the rest of his natural life. He didn't go at 50's career. He didn't criticize 50's music. He didn't mock 50's appearance or his business ventures. He went directly, viciously, and unforgivably at 50 Cent's mother, a woman who has been dead for over 4 decades, a woman who was murdered when Curtis Jackson was only 8 years old, a little boy who never got to grow up with his mother, who never got her guidance, who never got to share his success with her. And King Harris made sure to hammer that fact as hard and as cruelly as humanly possible. He told 50 to dig his mother up out of the ground. He told 50 to post a picture of her corpse and see if she looks better than Tiny. He told 50 to go put flowers on her grave. He said, "My mama is a legend and yours is dead." Over and over again. Dead as hell. Go dig high up. She's gone. She can't protect you. The venom, the pure hatred, the absolute malice in that video was unlike anything I have ever seen from someone that young in a hip-hop beef. And I have covered this culture extensively. I've seen terrible things said between artists. But watching a young man taunt another man about his murdered mother with that level of pure, unadulterated hatred in his voice hit completely different. Now let me be balanced and fair here for a moment. I understand the impulse. If I'm King Harris and I see one of the most powerful, most famous men in all of entertainment posting humiliating, degrading photos of my mother for the entire world to mock and laugh at, my blood is going to boil. That protective instinct, that primal desire to defend the woman who raised you, who sacrificed for you, who loved you unconditionally, that's natural. That's human. And I'll give King credit where credit is absolutely due. He chose his family. He didn't pull a Lil Meech. For those who don't know, Lil Meech, the son of Big Meech, was seen by many people in the culture as being too friendly and comfortable with 50 Cent while 50 was simultaneously trolling, mocking, and disrespecting his father publicly. King Harris wasn't having any of that. He made it unequivocally clear whose side he's on. He stood up for his mother when she was being humiliated. From that perspective, his intentions were arguably noble. But the way he did it, the execution, the specific methods he chose, that's where everything fell apart catastrophically. Because King didn't stop with the video. He then went and found an actual photograph of the real tombstone where 50 Cent's mother is buried. Sabrina Jackson's grave, her physical, sacred resting place. And he posted it on the internet for millions of people to screenshot, share, meme, mock, and disrespect. And on that tombstone there were reportedly 2 names, Sabrina and someone else, possibly a sister or another close relative, both buried in the same place, both now exposed to the absolute cruelty and heartlessness of the internet because a young man let his emotions completely override his judgment. I don't care what side of this beef you're on. I don't care if you love T.I. and despise 50 Cent, or if you love 50 Cent and think T.I. is completely in the wrong. What King Harris did is one of the darkest, most morally indefensible things I have ever witnessed in any hip-hop feud. A woman's grave being turned into content. A murdered mother's final resting place being weaponized as ammunition in an Instagram war. There are certain things you cannot undo. Certain words you cannot take back. Certain actions that permanently stain your character. And that is one of them. Now, let's talk about what this means strategically, because beyond the moral horror of it, this was also the single worst tactical move anyone in T.I.'s camp could have possibly made. And I need to break down exactly why in excruciating detail. The dead should rest in peace. That's a principle that exists across every culture, every community, every religion, every walk of life. You don't mock the dead. You especially don't mock someone who was taken violently and never got to live their full life. 50 Cent's mother was murdered, killed. She didn't get to see her son survive being shot 9 times and left for dead. She didn't get to see him sign with Eminem and Dr. Dre. She didn't get to see Into Club become one of the biggest, most iconic songs in hip-hop history. She didn't get to see him become a television mogul, a wildly successful businessman, an executive producer, a cultural icon. She missed all of it. And now her grave, her final resting place, is a meme circulating on social media. Some people will argue that it was mom for mom. 50 went after Tiny, who is King's mother. So King went after 50's mother. Eye for an eye. Fair exchange. Perfectly justified retaliation. And I hear that argument. I understand the logic. But posting an unflattering photo of a living person and posting the tombstone of a dead woman who was murdered decades ago are not the same thing. They are not in the same category. They are not on the same planet morally, ethically, or strategically. One is petty internet trolling that everyone will forget about in 2 weeks. The other is something that violates the most basic, fundamental code of human decency that transcends hip-hop, transcends culture, and transcends any beef. And here's the strategic disaster that nobody seems to be talking about. Before King Harris posted that video and that tombstone photo, T.I. had the moral high ground. The public was largely on T.I.'s side. People were saying 50 was being a bully. People were calling the tiny post foul, unnecessary, and mean-spirited. T.I. was winning the narrative war without even trying. All he had to do was sit back, stay quiet, and let 50 look like the bad guy who attacks people's wives for no reason. The court of public opinion was on his side, and then his son blew all of it up in 60 seconds. Now, 50 Cent can do whatever he wants. He can go as hard as he wants. He can be as cruel, as relentless, and as vicious as he wants. And nobody is going to defend the Harris family, because King went somewhere that the entire culture unanimously agrees you should never, ever go. And 50 Cent knows this. Trust me, he knows exactly how much power he just gained. Because 50 Cent grew up without his mother. That loss shaped every single aspect of who he is. His paranoia, his aggression, his refusal to let anyone get one over on him, his obsessive need to completely destroy anyone who challenges him. It all traces back to losing his mother at 8 years old. That wound is the deepest, most painful thing in his entire existence. And King Harris just ripped it open in front of the whole world. If you thought 50 Cent was dangerous before, if you thought the trolling was bad before, if you thought the Instagram campaigns were vicious before, you have not seen anything yet. 50 Cent ended Ja Rule's relevance over a much smaller slight. He turned Rick Ross into a corrections officer joke for years over a photograph. He tortured the game publicly and repeatedly until the game became completely defined by the rivalry. None of those people touched 50's dead mother. None of them went to a graveyard and posted photos. So what exactly do you think 50 Cent is going to do to T.I.'s 20-something-year-old son who just committed the ultimate act of disrespect? And if I'm T.I. right now, I am beside myself with frustration, anger, and dread. Because I know my son was trying to protect his mother. I know his heart was in the right place, even if his head absolutely wasn't. But he just handed Curtis Jackson a blank check to destroy our family's public image for as long as he feels like it. And 50 Cent doesn't get tired. He doesn't move on. He doesn't let things go. He will carry this grudge for years, maybe even decades if he wants to. That's not a threat. That's not speculation. That's a documented, verifiable pattern of behavior spanning his entire career. And now, this beef has exposed something that's been true for a very long time, but nobody in the industry has the courage to say publicly. 50 Cent runs this industry through fear, not through having the best music, though his catalog is undeniably legendary, not through having the hardest bars, though he's proven he can wrap circles around most people, through fear, through the understanding that if you come for him, he will dedicate real time, real resources, real money, and real energy to making your life absolutely miserable for as long as it entertains him. Every podcaster who suddenly didn't want to talk about this beef when 50's name came up. Every rapper who agrees with T.I. behind closed doors but won't say a single word publicly. Every media figure who carefully edits their coverage to avoid catching 50's attention. That's all fear, and that's power. Real, tangible, undeniable power that exists completely outside of album sales or streaming numbers. So where does this go from here? Because I'll tell you right now with absolute certainty, this is nowhere close to being over. 50 Cent has not delivered his full response to the Tombstone situation yet. He's been relatively measured so far, at least by his standards. But that's the calm before something much, much worse. I believe 50 is going to come after King Harris directly. Not through T.I., through King himself. He's going to find every embarrassing moment, every mistake, every bad decision the kid has ever made, and put it on a billboard for the entire world to see. 50 has the resources to do this. He has the platform. He has the audience. And now, he has the justification. Beyond the social media war, I think this is going to bleed into T's professional life in ways people aren't even considering yet. Because people forget that 50 Cent isn't just a rapper with a lot of Instagram followers. He is one of the most connected producers and executives in television and entertainment. He has relationships with every major network and streaming platform. He has proven, repeatedly, that he is willing to use those relationships to make life harder for people he has problems with. And now T.I., who also works extensively in television, who has his own brand and his own deals, is on the wrong side of the most vindictive power broker in entertainment. That has real-world consequences that go far beyond who got the best joke on Instagram. And what concerns me most, what keeps me up at night thinking about this situation, is the physical element. We are past words now. We are past memes and posts and clever comebacks. When you disrespect a man's dead mother and post her tombstone for the world to see, that is the kind of wound that some people feel can only be addressed face to face. And if 50 Cent and T.I. ever end up in the same building, at the same event, in the same city at the wrong time, I genuinely worry about what happens. Both of them have children. Both of them have families. Both of them have legacies that should be defined by the incredible music they gave us and the culture they helped build. In DA Club versus Whatever You Like. Many Men versus Rubber Band Man. 21 Questions versus Live Your Life. Pimp versus Bring 'Em Out. Can you even imagine how legendary that verses would have been? Two absolute titans of the 2000s going hit for hit while millions of fans around the world celebrated their catalogs. That's the timeline we should be living in. Instead, we're living in the one with tombstones and dead mother jokes. And I don't know about you, but that should make every single person who genuinely loves this culture deeply, profoundly sad. Because nobody won here. T.I. didn't win. 50 didn't win. King didn't win. Tiny didn't win. Hip-hop damn sure didn't win. Everybody lost. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better. If it ever gets better. So with all of that said, I need to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me where you stand on this absolute madness. Do you think King Harris was justified in going after 50's mother because 50 went after Tiny? Or do you believe that the dead should always, under every circumstance, be left out of it no matter what the other person did first? Do you think T.I. should have gotten his son on the phone immediately and told him to delete everything? Do you think 50 Cent's eventual response is going to be career-ending for King? And the biggest question of all, do you think there is any human being on this planet with enough influence, respect, and credibility to sit these two men down and end this before something truly irreversible happens? Tell me everything in the comments. I read every single one. I respond to as many as I can. And your perspectives genuinely make these conversations richer, more nuanced, and more meaningful. If you made it all the way to this point, you are a real one and I appreciate you more than you know. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown. Because when 50 Cent responds to that tombstone post, and he will, I'm going to be right here covering it in full detail. This isn't just entertainment anymore. This is two men who helped define an entire era of hip-hop potentially destroying each other over pride, miscommunication, and a versus battle that never happened, and that should break every hip-hop fan's heart.